Many schools of thought have a moral component. You should do this, you should not do that. This, the gods look down upon. This is okay with the gods. You go to heaven, you go to hell. What's the Taoist viewpoint on all that kind of stuff?
Well, again, it would depend on where you're drawing your Taoism from. But the iconographic schools, so the ones with gods and saints in it,
Yeah.
have obvious moral orders, but those were meant to be public facing. And so,
And that's sort of a transition from Buddhism, is that right?
well, there was an integration of some Buddhist concepts in, I want to say, slightly pre-1000 AD. I'd have to actually look it up to make certain. Prior to that, it was Confucianism. And Confucianism...
But that's more of a political, social...
Yeah, but there have been classic debates between Taoists and Confucianists since the Warring Statement, or Warring States period. So that's BC. And so, and the transition of the Zhou Empire, which is roughly, I think, 800 BC, I want to say, where it started off.
Okay.
And then you had the rise of Confucianism within that. But that has to do with rigid hierarchies of obedience and worship and morality.
Yeah.
And parts of those got integrated into the state. But it was a way of extending state control into morality and to try to make them harmonious. So the state became a manifestation of the moral order. That was never the function of Taoism. And
are they incompatible? Could Taoism not take care of that? Well,
there were massive debates between the two, but again, there is no doubting the outcomes and developments that came from the Taoist practice. And so there was a mutual regard for one another, sometimes a grudging one if you read classics, but so there are certain benefits. So essentially, if you roll back Confucianism, Confucius wanted to try to eliminate warfare, chaos, and disruption, which is not necessarily, that's not a bad thing.
Right.
And Taoism was never built as a state control system.
Right.
It was never even built really as a personal control system for the general population. If you take its early origins, it's an elite religion that was never meant to be practiced by the general population, and so had to have those components added to it later on. And so the noodle got spicy. So listen to some of the prior talks if you don't know what that means.
Oh yeah.
And so if you can certainly find gods and saints within the religious traditions, and I think really those emergences occurred around 500 or 600 AD, something like that.
Okay.
So CE. And then we saw those integrations within it, and that was at the same time a kind of a borrowing from Buddhism and Buddhist approaches to things, and gradually getting stronger over time, but a really large integration of Confucianism. But at the same time, with a respect for plurality of belief. Because early China was a truly plural society. So if you're looking for hardcore mandates, the only place I see that now is in the low temples that survived the purge post-communism. And the reason is that ritual orders, and of which most low temples are, harmonize very easily with political power. So ritual is kind of the connection to politics.
Yeah.
Politics is in large part ritual, and if a religion is ritual, then the two plug into one another and feed one another.
It's a lock and key, isn't it?
You know, from the Taoist perspective, or from the political perspective, if you get rid of the advanced practitioners, or at least shrink them dramatically in numbers, the ritualists are more easily controlled because they are more in society.
And they're primed to follow orders, frankly.
Yeah, and that's simply a statement of the nature of that type of approach, and you can see it cross culture, cross history. Anytime you have a religious system that's highly ritualized, it's integrated with the governing bodies at that time. And it's as if governing bodies can't control religion unless there is ritual to influence, and vice versa. So essentially, within Taoism, the province of moral training is imported either from Buddhism or from Confucianism, and it's largely the responsibility of the low temples, which are the public-facing temples. The reason they're called low temples is they're in physically lower areas, so they're more accessible. And also, like in the old scheme, they represented high as closer to heaven and low as closer to earth. And
There are fewer steps.
yeah, you have to go through less labor in order to go get your dose of spirituality. And that's always been an accepted tradition, meaning that if the function of the low temple is to minister to the people and provide simple moral advice, go ahead and do it.
Now, what were the morals based on?
Mostly Confucianism,
Okay.
or some sort of interpretation of the Tao Te Ching. So the Tao Te Ching can be used as a ritual chanting text, and so parts of it would be chanted over and over. Most of it's about, I would say, getting more focus of the yin into your life and acceptance. Then you might receive specific guidance on how to engage the art of living, if that was part of that sex orientation. And you can get all sorts of those variations. You would also have, in some areas, the Daoism would be hybridized, and this is true today. The Daoism is hybridized with the local practices and the local gods.
Of course,
And
yeah,
so-
just regional differences to make it more palatable or more harmonious, yeah.
Yeah, it's more approachable to people. It deals with that area, and that's old tradition, not just within Taoism, but across all of China, as you have the local variations of it. If you are being, let's say, strict, it's not a good word, but let's say strict, with your Taoism, then you would want to know what is like the core of Taoism and what has been imported as local practice within that particular area. So, you know, as I've said before, the access point for a lot of people to spirituality is ritual. The problem with ritual is that it's easily corrupted by politics. And because politics is mostly ritual, and so you always have to be careful of that influence when you go through, because it's not politics that has to worry about the influence of religion. It's religion that has to worry about the influence of politics, as it always corrupts. It doesn't matter what the religion is, it's always corrupted by the presence of politics and the competition for power.
Oh, the
And so-
competition for power, yes.
But for Taoism, if a person wants to spend time engaging in the given ritual or the holidays for the season, that's just people.
Yeah.
You know, if that's your access to spirituality, by all means follow it. Accepted pathway, and it helps to remind you of, you know, the human condition.
Yeah.
You have limitations. You're going to die, and perhaps you should try to be a better person. That's not advice that I'd sit back and go, well, that sounds horrible. That's all advice that I'd sit back and go, yeah, this sounds like it might create a better world.
Right.
You know, or steer people towards creating a better social collection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, are we saying that that is core to Taoism? No, it's obviously not core to Taoism for most of Taoist history. Those were add-ons later on that came as the Taoists set out to try to serve the public. And you'll have to decide what the noodle is and what the spice is in that circumstance. Like at a certain point, Taoists go, good together. So I'm just going to eat it.
Yeah, yeah. But essentially the Tao, the capital Tao, doesn't have any moral code or moral edicts.
The Tao is all things. The most reprehensible things that a human can conceive of, and the most, what's the opposite of reprehensible?
Wonderful.
Wonderful, divine things that a human can conceive of. That's all within the Tao, and is actually only a small portion of it. And you can classically, and even through most of the even fringe variations of Taoism, there is no heaven and hell, there is no divine punishment. It's you living here now, doing these things now, reaping as you have sown, and that's it. So if people want a divine justification for their actions, that's not going to be from Taoism. Taoism doesn't try to be everything. We don't sit back and go, well, if we answer this question, we'll get 4,000 more followers because then, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You know, there's no drive for that. There really is, as I've pointed out to students in the past. It's like, I have nothing to gain from my interactions from you, and I have nothing to lose from my interactions with you. It's a zero-sum prospect from my position. I could literally do nothing and be the same as if I did a lot of things. And so all that happens is that, and the same thing will apply to them, you have to literally have somebody choose to go, you know what, let's talk about blah, blah, blah. Because otherwise, it wouldn't propagate. And so you have to make a decision about, so we roll into, in situations where there is good and evil, and the role of religion is to sanction or condemn. Those all automatically are combined with some form of enforcement, some form of propagation, and some form of reward and punishment. And when we cut out those things, all of those things just disappear. And so that becomes the key. You literally can have somebody, let's say, who's teaching you or mentoring you, get up and walk out the door because they were neither gaining nor losing by being there. And there's no spiritual gain. There's no gain that occurs.
There's no worldly gain. There's no psychological or emotional gain.
It's simply a neutral interaction. Hopefully.